It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 116. Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Spidey. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. Here it is, once again, 3 weeks in, 3 weeks out.
It's been 3 weeks since we talked to you.
Yep. Now that's
folks.
stuck in my head. Dan, how are you?
You're welcome.
I'm Eric.
I'm good, Eric.
That's Dan.
Oh, right.
What?
We got that settled. I'm good.
I had a bunch of things.
You know, well, we wanted to talk about Andy Dick real quick for no reason.
Yeah, we were reminiscing, as you
we
do when you
figured-
get older, about the Andy Dick show.
This is what people typically do when they hit their 40s, is
Yeah,
reminisce about the
out
Andy
of
Dick
nowhere,
show.
your friend will just say, "Do you remember the Andy Dick show when he would say, after I drop the kids off at the pool, I'm going to drop the kids off at the pool?" That's the only part of the Andy Dick show I remember. And he was playing, I feel like, an actress or something, and it was set up like a reality show. Sure, it's all fine. How are you, Dan? Aside from that,
no one knows what we're talking about. They
it's
don't
fine.
recall Andy Dick.
Nope.
I don't think Andy Dick recalls his career.
with some
so
dark
that's
days
fine.
there.
Honestly, I feel like after our last review, where we spent maybe a third of the entire recording
Talking about
just in the
He-Man
preamble, I think
and,
that's kind
Dune.
of the way to go.
Was Dune last week?
Let's just do that.
Last 3 weeks?
Yeah, Dune was last time.
Yeah.
It was.
So what's happened since the time of Dune? I don't know. I can't even remember.
New Dune news?
I had some stuff to talk about. Well, for one thing, Doctor Who related, I did watch the last new Doctor
Mohicans.
Who
The
special Revolution of the Daleks, which featured a Captain Jack Harkness, which I'm sure, looking back on now, they're like, I wish we had gone with Rose. You know, like some of the shine has sort of worn off that fellow. But I thought it was pretty interesting.
It wasn't just that, you know, the actor has had there's been revelations that make it problematic. The character really wasn't all that great. Maybe it's at the time when Captain Jack was introduced, the character was new and it was kind of exciting in a different direction. But every subsequent cameo of his, it just does nothing.
No,
for me.
most of the time
really
it doesn't
liked-
make any sense, like what his motivation
There's no
is
need
or
for
who
it.
he is or anything. It's like the whole thing is
Right.
just, he's like a swashbuckling, rapscallion, renegade
time
rogue.
guy. Yeah.
But is he? Like you never really know. He's just there. Like
Right.
there's never like some driving. I can't even remember. I just watched it. And I can't remember why
it could
he was
literally
in it.
be it could be anyone.
He
but
rescues
then
her
you
from-
throw him in there to make it
He
feel.
rescues her from... Well, I don't want to spoil anything because people may not have seen
doesn't
it.
matter.
Now we just literally spoiled he's a surprise guest in it. So apologies.
I don't think it was much of a surprise.
Yeah, I
That
think
was
they
not much of a
promoted it.
surprise.
But that was
I mean,
fine.
you get-
We
you get
saw
the kind of
that.
setting-
You liked it, didn't like it? Be quick. Let's just bang this out.
I don't recall it all that well,
Fair
except
enough.
not really liking that much. But that's true for the entire season.
The reviews are
The
in. That
last
would be a
season.
great poll quote for you. I don't recall it.
I don't remember seeing
Yeah.
it. But there is maybe this happened earlier than that, but they've announced the plans for the next
Yeah, there's
season
another
of New Who.
season or another special. How is that working?
Well, it's going to be another season. Well, maybe there's another special beforehand, but the season itself, the plan is to do one overarching story across all the episodes, as opposed to Monster of the Week that somehow tie in
Right,
at the
so
end.
it's gonna
to
be
an
the
overarching
Key of
story.
Time
It's going to be
2.
more of a more.
They're bringing
more of a
back the
continuous
Black
story,
Guardian.
but
You
it's-
heard it. You heard it here first.
You're here first. But it's going to be Jodie Whittaker's
Yes, her
Farewell, I believe, as well as the showrunner. So I don't know who we're going to get after this. Maybe Eric, you could throw your hat into
Sure.
the ring to be the new showrunner.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'm going to audition to be
You're the new Doctor.
The new Doctor. Yep.
I think that would work.
I don't think I need to audition. It's really, I think it's going to be offered. At this point in my career, I don't really do auditions anymore.
No,
You
you don't send tape.
Anyway,
I thought it was fine though.
that's-
I had some mixed. I like this last season a lot more than the previous season of
I don't like either of them,
Chibnall's,
honestly.
whatever. That being said,
Yeah.
So I didn't have super high expectations, but it was entertaining. I actually liked the Donald Trump character, which they sort of eased off a bit on all of the connections to him. I found him a little bit more entertaining. Like, it was fine. It was like for a sort of a adventure thing. It was fine. There's a lot of like heavy stuff that they have in, but it doesn't always necessarily pay off or feel 100% earned. But I don't know. I thought it was fine, and I'm interested to see like. Because now I'm a fan of less companions just because it gives people more to do and you get to learn. So the fact that now, as far as I know, it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
To see like what that's all about. And they set up a little bit, she's a little bit not resentful.
Country,
but like,
they're a little
there's
bit
a bunch
rock
of
and roll.
stuff. It's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to harp on it too much because people are here for the classic stuff. They don't want the new stuff.
No, let's harp.
You just
Let's
throw a
harp.
rock
No,
and hit
let's harp.
a new Doctor Who podcast.
You know what we didn't talk about, though? We didn't talk about, and I can't recall any of the details, again, except my disappointment.
about Mike Yates?
In No. Oh, I have
No,
feelings
stop.
about that we'll talk
Stop.
about. But,
Please.
the whole timeless child thing, the origins of the...
Yeah, I'm
of
not a huge
the
fan of
time-
that.
Like, God, I really don't like rewriting so much of the story.
All right, these are
of the-
obviously
of the
spoilers
lore.
for the new Who, so you can skip ahead
Oh, come on. Who
to
cares?
the end if you haven't
Who cares?
watched it. But did I?
You should skip ahead to the last minute. We're only going to spend the last minute of this entire recording reviewing the
Yep.
show of the story.
This is not
Go
my
ahead.
observation, and forgive me if I already brought this up, but I saw somebody talk about the time, on YouTube. That their complaint was they didn't mind all of the Timeless Child stuff, except they had suggested, it shouldn't have been her. She should have just been another Time Lord that then had to deal with the fact that she got all these powers and all this stuff from the suffering of someone else. And that would be a more interesting thing than removing her and making, now the Doctor is essentially the victim of this whole thing instead of sort of reckoning with the past and trying to make right of that or whatever.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
more
I thought that
interesting.
was like, okay, well then that makes that story a little bit more layers and more to work with. That was not my idea. I don't even remember who said that.
No, but
I
do like that so much more. It's just the whole kind of retconning everything and it. Yeah, I don't know. It just left a really bad taste in my mouth.
But like all things, Dan, none of it matters. Those other stories still exist. They can easily undo all of this, and they probably will at some point. So you can't get too...
I guess.
That's the problem with any kind of thing that has long continuity, like Marvel Comics or DC or anything that's running for a long time. Is all this stuff is malleable.
In
it's all
comic
going to
books,
change.
though, with the history of comic books, you have this understanding that the stories will get rewritten, reintroduced. You'll start over with Batman 20 times in its run. You don't necessarily get that with TV shows unless you do like a hard reboot, which, in 2005 they could have, but they didn't really. They continued the story. So you don't really get the opportunity to completely disregard. I mean, it's a show about time travel.
Though. It happens with TV shows.
They could do whatever they want, but not to the same extent as a comic. I don't know. It bothers me more than it would if it had been, say, a comic book where they're like, okay, well, this is now Earth 321, and this is what happened there instead, or the what if type thing. I don't know. I feel like we're stuck with this decision around the Timeless Child and the origins of the Time Lords that I just maybe it'll pay off well with in some other writer's hands.
It could.
But I didn't enjoy where it went. Anyway,
who knows?
That's it.
But we're not
Sorry
we got to
No, we're
jump
not here for
in
that.
because there is an invasion going on. A
An invasion of
Dinosaur
what?
invasion,
Oh
Dan.
my goodness.
Yeah, unless you have anything else.
No, I have nothing else.
Okay.
I got nothing,
I got
going,
nothing
for me,
going
man.
on.
All right, find that
Yeah,
button.
let's
Where's
hit
that
the button. Whoop. Whoop. Whoop.
Well, after all that business in Wales with the giant maggots, I had to have a spot of leave. Suppose it was a reaction, really.
I'm not surprised.
As soon as I get back, of course, all this business blows up.
It's weird seeing London like this. All those deserted streets.
I rather like it.
Excuse me, sir.
Have you noticed the air? It's clean. No cars. No people. Do you know yesterday I saw a fox in Piccadilly?
Nightingales in Berkeley Square.
It's not impossible.
No. No, I like London the way it was. Traffic jams and all.
Yes, I expect you're right.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Dan. This is the second serial in season number 11, lucky number 11. This comes to us from 1974, same year I was born, the older of the two of us.
Woo!
This was written by
ancient.
Malcolm Hulk, and old Patty Russell was behind the camera saying, "You do that, you stand here, now bring that person in." This is the Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive in an abandoned London, save for roving looters and dinosaur puppets. And they soon discover that UNIT has evacuated the town, but unfortunately they're arrested for looting and various crimes. It turns out there's an army of dinosaurs that seem to have invaded, but the Doctor finds that there's a more nefarious conspiracy at foot, whose scheme has penetrated his very inner circle. Dan, what did you think? What did you think?
Wow.
What did you think of Invasion of the Dinosaurs?
Eric, I'm glad you asked.
You look a
I
little
think it was
shocked by
penetrations.
penetrations of the Doctor's inner circle, is what I...
There's inner circle. It's not exactly how I recall this story, but okay. First of all, I will say this is a first for me. I shotgunned these stories back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, literally
right into our
moments ago,
recordings.
right?
I've literally just seen it, which is the amount of preparation you really expect.
Yeah, your video player
from
is
me.
still warm.
Eric, I think this was an incredible, fun,
Yep.
fast-paced,
Yep.
varied story ruined by dinosaurs.
Oh no!
That's my
Okay,
take.
fair enough.
Well, not ruined. No, not ruined. I mean, it just so overall, it was a 6-parter. We knew this going in. I was very concerned. Typically, when we had 6-parters, they'd be like maybe the first or second Doctor, and they would tend to be very slow. Someone on Twitter, we'll see this later, mentioned that it's not like those serials. It actually kind of moves pretty quickly, and I agree with that. There was so much going on, and it felt like every episode led with a new reveal, a new twist as to what's going on, which really kept it fresh as it was going through all these many parts. But, as everyone's well aware, those dinosaur puppets are...
They're not great.
Maybe the worst effects I've seen in this era of Who. Just terrible. Distracting, bad. The green screen effects with them were bad. The puppets themselves were not good. The miniatures around them, unconvincing. But the performances were great. The story was great. The twists and turns. The overall message about these Greenpeace activists, basically. It was really interesting. And you get these character twists with like Yates.
Yeah, they did.
At the end, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
We'll get to that.
Really interesting. I overall enjoyed the story a lot. Eric, what did you think of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, aka Planet of the Dinosaurs? as some people call it?
I have the same thoughts as you. I really liked it.
Okay,
I thought it was great. And honestly, the dinosaurs are terrible. But as soon as you see them, if you just tell yourself, I'm going to imagine better looking dinosaurs, everything works out. It's all fine.
Yes.
I wonder, I don't know, is there a special edition of this? I feel like you could take this and then, digitally put in cool-looking dinosaurs and then just see what that story would be like. Because it does take you out of it a little bit, but it's also
Yeah.
so bad it is kind of charming in a way too, which was
Right.
fine. But as far as like the story goes, I like. Well, I guess we should talk about the tone of it. Is so different
do
when
it.
you watch the first episode because it's in black and white. And then I guess we
Oh
can.
my God,
there
that
was
was
like,
great.
I guess they lost the color version and they only had some other version, whatever. I don't know the details on that, but it's a much different show.
Close enough.
When you watch it, it felt way more like a horror movie, way more like an Invasion of the Body
Mm-hmm.
Snatchers feel to it. Like the opening is very cool because you get like the abandoned London, and you see like anytime you see like a baby doll in a carriage. Or there's like money on the ground, like it's just apocalypse.
London is just
and then you're
full of
adjusting, you're
nothing
mentally,
but baby carriages.
you're mentally adjusting to Sarah Jane's haircut, and that's also like in the black and white. It's like that takes a lot out of you, puts you on edge.
Eric?
And there's also like a
Eric,
wonderful
go-
irony to the doctor coming out of a phone booth to go into another phone booth. I thought that was interesting when he tries to make a call. I liked it a lot. I mean, I thought the... Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
you just got very, very low. I like the story a lot. Once it changes
Sorry.
from black and white to color, it really has such a profound effect on how you view the story.
Yeah.
It's like more fun. It's more of like whatever. I liked all of the intrigue. I had Yates spoiled already going in because I made the mistake of when I
no.
knew it was time to do Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I didn't know how many parts it was, and I Googled Invasion of the Dinosaurs to get like a page, see if it was 6 parts, and
Yeah.
sure enough, like the first line that I caught was how this story's monumental because it's a betrayal, and I saw so I knew
stinks.
that was coming. But still, I like the way that they did it. I totally get
Yep.
where the other side is coming from. It's a valid argument.
Totally, yeah.
I don't blame them for doing what they did. It was good. I mean, I thought everyone was great. I liked all of the cast. I did not expect like the turn that happens in episode 4, where all of a sudden there's the fake spaceship that looks like Heaven's Gate. Like they have a whole Heaven's Gate wing of the show. Like I was not expecting that. Like when Sarah Jane
Yeah,
literally
not at all.
wakes up and doesn't know, and they're like, you're on a spaceship. And they play it. They don't reveal to the audience that it's not that. And so I was like, whoa, wait. It just feels like, it felt like 2 different stories. But it was cool. So I liked all of that.
Honestly, I like that part of it. Hey, it's funny. I wanted to say my first 2 notes on this story
haircut.
are the creepy opening with the abandoned London that I loved, and Sarah Jane's bowl cut. Those are my first 2 notes. So we're on the same page there too.
Simpatico. And also, like,
I do tend to,
I was gonna say, in the beginning, don't we see the bloody face of the burglar after he's in that car accident? That was pretty rough. I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
I wasn't.
unusual
But
for
in the
this.
black and white, it was even more stark.
Yeah, it looked more gory for some reason. I bet the original color is probably a little more garish and maybe it felt more cartoonish.
We also learned, we learned
first-
that the doctor uses a large amount of sugar in his tea. That's at least 4. He's
4
just
scoops.
going to town, and I guess diabetes is not
man.
a thing that he has to worry about because of
Not for
probably
Time
because of
Lords.
the double heart. There's a lot of like that the timey-wimey stuff that I didn't 100% understand all the way at the end when the doctor reverses the polarity of the neutron flow, as he does.
So goodness that they did that.
They hit the button, but then it's limited to just the 2 of them that get put back. Why just the 2 of them?
Well,
not
because
the
of the
bubble.
story.
Like
It was
they
story
create
mechanics.
a bubble
No,
that
I mean,
is X amount of feet by X amount of feet, and anyone within that bubble is safe, and everything outside of it is going to go back in time. So it's like a Superman 2 reverse the thing where he's in, you were in there, that whole thing, but everyone's in there. Like, why didn't the doctor and everyone else in that room also go back in time? It's fine. I thought that was fine, and maybe they say it and I just missed it.
So the doctor, it was the very end. The mad scientists flip the switches.
Yep.
They're going to send them all back in time. The doctor somehow by virtue of being a Time Lord is able to slow motion, run against the wind to get over to the control panel and flip it back. But okay, let's say we don't know what levers he was pulling. Maybe he pulled a lever first that shrank the thing down. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, but these localized...
the cone of influence on that thing.
These localized time disruptions was kind of an interesting thing. Like, it doesn't make sense in some cases. So in a previous scene, not too far before that, the bad guys are explaining what they're going to do and how he can reverse time in specific areas. You have the henchman kind of throws a cup down and it breaks. Then he reverses time and the cup unbreaks. And then the guy looks up and smirks. But if time got reversed for him, he wouldn't remember that he did it. So there's no reason for him to be smirking unless that's his resting smirk face. So it's just like these little things, like you wouldn't remember the fact that time rolled back because time rolled back for you.
I guess in that particular thing, it was the cylinder of where the cup broke was what was reversed.
No, his hand. The entire thing comes back into his hand, so he's in it.
I guess his hand doesn't remember, but his brain.
No, his hand is 5 seconds younger than the rest of his body,
which is going to lead to a lot of problems later on.
Weird. It's getting weird.
I love the characterization of Pertwee's doctor in this and how much he hates the military. Like, he hates people in charge.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's a moron. Yeah. Like, and like the bureaucracy, and like the way he has fun even when he's getting arrested with taking the photos. That was a great scene.
The mug shot with the
mugs, and then he's asking to do another shot with Sarah Jane, like a double
with the group.
All of that stuff is fun. I like how they do.
Terrific.
And you get the classic. Let's stage a fight to get out, and then honor among thieves, and he's like kicking fools. And the fact that he has that dumb spaceship car, which of course I told myself, I'm like,
jumping out of order here. Yeah.
Jon Pertwee asked to have this dumb thing put in here, and I looked it up, and sure enough, he did. And I guess in the novelization they took that out because that was like a Pertwee.
In the script, it was a military motorcycle. I didn't know that Pertwee asked for it, but that makes perfect sense.
You know he loves that spy crap, but that was just funny because it has no reason to be here. And even like within the script, they're like, "Why do you have this thing?" He's like, "I got to get there fast." It's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna get that extra 30 seconds.
What was It's so funny because you say that he loves that action spy thing, and I also note the number of times that his Venusian judos, aikido, whatever it is, comes into play in this story. This is right up his alley.
You get characters asking to get a little bit of it. I like this, like Benton, we always had like Benton Yates, because they were almost interchangeable.
Yep.
And this one was like, you know what? We picked one. It's Benton. He's going to be everyone's favorite, and Yates is the hated son.
Well. To your point, though, you can see at least they were given strong motivation, and you could see that Yates was following this ideal from a principled position. No, hang on, let me clarify. He did know the full plan. He knew that. Yes, no, he did. He knew that all of human civilization would be wiped out, so they could restart again. Himself, that's why I remembered himself included. He just said, "I'm not important." It's the whole.
Yeah, he just didn't want to hurt the doctor.
It's not really.
But he had no problem hurting everyone else.
But not defensible. Yes. Understandable, but not defensible in any way. But it's interesting to give him... You're right. We do that Benton Yates thing where it's just one word because we can't tell them apart. But now it is absolutely clear they're two completely separate characters.
Gave him something.
Do you want to go maybe a little chronologically through some of this?
What do you want to do?
Well, I just wanted to mention, like, because of that first story being... not the original color recording. It's a telescene, whatever. They grabbed it someplace else. That is fortunate. I think that first episode
in black
of
and
the
white
story, it has so much more impactful in black and white. When you think about the scene when the Doctor and Sarah get attacked by the pterodactyl, so the first time we really see a dinosaur up close in the story. If that had been in color, it would have been horrendous. But in black and white, it was bad.
And you get it in color.
It evoked.
Right, you get it in color later to compare it to.
It evoked the birds or something like that.
It felt very much like the birds.
The birds was in color.
It was in color,
wasn't it?
But it was very much
but it still gives you that sort of that feel to it, and it works more convincingly in... Oh, yeah, I called it my notes a shit version of the birds. it's a horrible puppet, but at least in that black and white, it has the atmosphere of it. So I'm really kind of glad that was done in black and white, but I don't think I would have wanted the entire story the whole way through to be in black and white. So it's just lucky, I don't know, in some way, some fortunate way that it worked out that way, because I think it really works out much better.
Yeah.
I don't know, sorry. What is it about the dinosaur puppets specifically that makes them so bad?
I think it's just the when you have something that doesn't, there's no movement to them. So it looks like
there's no life in them.
A mask. It looks like a rubber suit. Like there's no movement, so it gets this uncanny. Even if it looked perfect, the fact that no parts of it are moving immediately tells your brain that this thing is not right. So I think
there's something about the T-Rex specifically.
It's
like
the face,
the
eyes, face, the way the nose is. The nostrils are almost as far as the eyes, so it almost looks like a hippo. But it doesn't. It doesn't quite
exactly. Yes.
Line up. But there's really nothing you can do with that unless it was claymation. No. Like if you don't have that kind of like movement, it looks. Yeah. It's just it doesn't work. And the pterodactyls were the worst, though. That was the absolute worst.
Oh, they were so bad.
And to piggyback on because I like a piggyback party.
Yeah,
I like to jump on. But what I was saying, and I don't know if you heard me, like you do get that pterodactyl scene later in color, and it doesn't hold up anywhere near as good as the black and white one. Like when the doctor gets set up, and then they start pelting him with the like with the they're in the thing, and the face is coming in and trying to like peck at the doctor's eyes when he's in like I think it's in the closet elevator at that point, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's horrendous.
I guess I agree with that. I wonder if they had chosen claymation stop motion, if the halting nature of stop motion would have been better, a good trade-off for more realistic dinosaurs than the live puppety versions that just look dead. It's so strange. But I only ask because we've seen so many effects over the years that are unconvincing but charming. But this felt like way on the far end of the spectrum. Like this was really unconvincing, and I had to will myself.
I think it was the pterodactyls.
Everything else is great. So
like even when you saw the Stegosaurus, it wasn't as bad.
That wasn't too bad.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't too bad.
And
the Brontosaurus
wasn't as bad.
Until the fight scene. Yeah. Oof. That fight scene between the T-Rex and that was
I thought, speaking of things that looked good, I liked the design of the doctor's gun. I thought that was cool. Like whoever designed that weapon. Remember he builds the gun and then Yates...
The stun
Yates
gun.
Sticks like the nickel on it or whatever.
So,
and it like...
Right. So we can... if we want to go chronologically...
Yeah, so they land... They basically... The place is being looted. They take a car that happens to have... paintings in it, or I don't remember what's in it.
There's
VCRs and
things in the back.
It looks like he's going to Collingswood auction. And then they get arrested, but the doctor doesn't really ever say what is going on until he's has that instant trial. Like he never says this isn't our stuff. Like let me see the brigadier. I'm from unit. Like I don't feel like he says that until he goes to that mini trial, right?
Right.
And then because he's like, I'm waiting for an officer, right? Or something like that.
Because I think, they got arrested, which means they're going to be taken to the authorities, which at which point he'll be able to get out of this because he'll be able to get in contact with the unit. But it's at that point when they do the kind of show trial, that he does is kind of screwed. But you already mentioned this, but I just want to say again, that whole thing with them getting the mugshots taken was adorable. With him smiling, but I think was also kind of interesting is you see Sarah Jane try to put on a brave face and do the same thing and smile through her mugshots. But Elizabeth Sladen's so good, you can see the doubt in her eyes as she's doing it. That there's a nuance to it that I really enjoy. I just love her.
I like that they get those photos. And then they're then they develop them, and then they clip them, and then they get onto a report, and then that report gets to the brigadier's office, and then it happens to be the one on the top. I love that whole exchange. But then nothing, they're just aware of the doctor, and then you're like, the brigadier's going to go get him, and they're like, no, he's not. And then it's only, later on, the doctor nearly clobbers the brigadier when they're hiding out after having escaped.
I mean, that is one of the benefits of having military rule is that things are very efficient in terms of filing paperwork.
I
It just
liked
gets
all
done
of that
like
stuff. I liked how you had like
did too.
an emergency scenario with martial law and how wrong that can go, and how there's no justice, and the doctor's literally sentenced for indefinite prison. Like they're like, essentially whenever this is cleared up, you'll face a civilian court, I think they say, and then go to prison again. So that was interesting. And then again, the doctor's got to fake the fight and then, get out, and then the guy turns on him, and then they run, and then they got caught again. Like there's a lot of like escape catch that goes on. Maybe a bit too much, but that's
maybe a little bit of that. There's one later that I'll mention that kind of bugged me. But even as for in episode 2, they set up everything with Yates. He and Sarah are talking. He's having some tea, and he's talking about like how there's no people around in London. The skies have cleared up. There's no smog right now, which makes me think of last year when the pandemic was really kicking in. I live across the Hudson River from New York City. We can see New York from a park right by our
empty
house, and it was perfect. How clear everything was in those first like March, April, May. It was crystal
it's like
clear.
12
The weather was
monkeys with
incredible.
like a lion walking down the middle of Fifth Avenue.
Exactly. Yes, we had a lot. We had a zoo full of animals just wandering the streets. But it was just interesting that way. So we start him Yates talking about it this way to kind of set up what's going to happen later. And there's this little interplay between Yates and Sarah where they're
that scene's great.
Kind of flirtatious in a little way, and she kind of punches him on the arm, and it's just really cute. Like I wrote in my notes, Yates likes Sarah, but then immediately it switches, and you're like, oh crap, what's going on? Is he a double agent? Is he a triple agent? Is he actually infiltrating them? And also, like, I couldn't get my head around the fact that Yates was kind of a baddie.
Well, this is my personal take, right? Because they mentioned Yates. I always felt like they were. Maybe it was Benton. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with Benton. But for purposes of what I'm saying now, I'm going to pretend it's Yates. They were trying to get a Joe Grant Yates thing going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so hear me out. So the last
which
time
was that? Which actually was that Benton?
I think it was Benton, but it doesn't. If it's Benton, it doesn't fit with what I'm saying. So we're gonna pretend it's Yates.
So we'll just.
So they're trying to get this
Yates
Joe Grant thing going. The last time we see Yates, I think, was The Green Death, which is also a very eco-friendly storyline because he mentions it anyway.
Eco Warriors.
I think he mentions the last time I saw the Doctor was this. So he's in love with Joe Grant, right? He's in love with her. And then she leaves him for this like hippie professor environmentalist. So then he's heartbroken. He just becomes obsessed with the environment and fixing things because he wants to one day show Joe Grant she made a mistake. So that's how he falls in with these rough professorial types. So this is all
there's a really
for
interesting
Joe Grant.
theory. If it had actually been Yates, that's a really good theory. I think what complicates it is that was Benton. Although maybe it makes it even more twisty. Maybe Yates was so upset.
Maybe Yates was into Benton.
Of Benton. He was into Benton, and he didn't want to see.
Yeah,
He knew.
Are you saying it's a Roxanne? Are you saying it's a Roxanne situation where it was Yates whispering into Benton's ear what to say to Joe Grant? And it turned out that it was the two of them that should have been together.
Well, it was kind of definitely a Cyrano / Roxanne mashed up with single white female, maybe. I think that's what's happening here.
Mixed in with white girls because they were also in prosthetic makeup.
White girls. It always comes back to white girls.
So I don't even remember how I got there, but Yates was a double agent. But no, that conversation when they're talking, when Yates is saying how great it is and how he likes it, I was like, I'm Yates. We are all Yates. I agree with Yates. It is better with less people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love seeing him get to have this moral conflict where he thinks he's doing the right thing but doesn't want to hurt his friends, but even though he's going to erase all of time and they're going to be gone anyway. I thought it was really interesting. So you got him as a double agent. You get this general who I think is really well acted. Totally, cast. He looks like a bad guy from the beginning. But the way that the actor portrays him, he's friendly to Sarah. He's trying to help her out, and ends up turning a gun on her. Same thing with the minister who stays behind. Theoretically stays behind to keep charge of everything. He helps Sarah out. They go investigate together. I even said in my notes before, because I'm gullible, I even said in my notes before he turns on her, like, oh, he's actually kind of acting like Sarah's companion. And then, so there's double agents all over. Real quick, though. We both have said how many times we love Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
She's just wonderful. In this especially, the doctor goes off to do what he needs to do. He leaves her behind. She says, like, just tell him I went out to play or whatever.
Yeah, she's solving the case. She's solving the case. She's
a
Lois Lane type.
Investigative journal. Absolutely. She has, I know I say this a lot, but I really appreciate when we have these companions, especially the female companions, that have agency and are not just damsels in distress or plot devices. Though she has those moments, it seems like she has control over what she's doing, and she gets to the heart of it on her own. I love it. I love seeing her in her pleather jacket, black pleather jacket, going out and investigating. She just kicks so much butt in this story, and she figures out when she's on the spaceship later that we'll get to.
The whole spaceship
she knows
is
what's
great.
going on immediately. It's great.
I love the whole spaceship thing, and there's a lot of like, this could have been written by some like right winger. Who's like, this is what happens when woke culture goes too far. Yeah. Like, it's a spaceship of blue checkmark Twitter people. Like, it's like the elite, the super professor, the super athlete, like all these people, and like the regular commoners are the ones that are going to get slaughtered. And like, they show that, like, if she's not doing exactly what they say, they're going to execute her, essentially. That woman's pretty evil. Well, she's like, we're just going to, remove her off the board.
Or they're going to put her into the reminder room or whatever it was
like
called.
Re-education or
the
whatever.
Brainwashing thing. Yeah, exactly. So we go through that. We find out in episode 3 that what's really going on here, this anti-pollution activist kind of thing happening. Oh, God. This is when they captured the... So Yates puts on that little device.
By the way, that was the most unbelievable part of the story, is the fact that the anti-pollution people are going to be like that general and that other guy, like, and that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, it wouldn't be them. That's fine. So Yates sabotages the gun. The doctor almost gets destroyed, killed by the T-Rex. Yates, changes his mind to save the doctor. They capture the T-Rex. This whole sequence of the T-Rex being
just lying down for a while.
It looks like a deflated balloon whenever it falls over.
Yeah, it was like right before the Macy's parade. They hadn't inflated the Woody Woodpecker, just lying in a heap on the ground.
Oh, it's more like the T-Rex from Toy Story. That's really what he looks like. Which is really
100%.
That's kind of adorable now that I think about it. But like Sarah sneaks in to take photographs of it and gets right up next to it. So the scale is all wrong as well. The T-Rex doesn't look, it's not the right size anymore compared to her. Wakes up and it looks at a balloon inflating, like those wacky waving inflatable arm guys just popping back to life. It just looks terrible. I'll leave them out of it from the rest. Like that was probably the worst part of it.
That was pretty bad. And then it destroys the building, right? And then she gets out.
Yep.
And we know that the major or the general or whatever she doesn't get out.
She gets bonked on the head. This is where she gets captured. And wakes up on the spaceship.
I thought she wakes up on the spaceship after talking with. I guess because she goes and she sees the head guy, right? The minister, and then they find the plans, and then she's like, "Well, where is the thing?" And then she's like, "It's right here," or whatever, and then she goes out.
You're right. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I watched these back to back. That's 2 hours in a row. I get a little jumbled, but yeah, you're right. I
liked all that stuff too, like the fact that like. You go into that back room, and I knew like that guy was no good. Like you could tell.
I'm a dummy.
Like when he's talking to the doctor, like there's a couple of weird looks and stuff, but I thought that was well played. Go on.
I could see that. I think what I got thrown off with, there was another minister, a whole nother like MP that dealt with UNIT, and that we've seen the doctor. Maybe even it was all the way back. oh God, was it earlier in Pertwee's run, or was it even? Yeah, it must have been Pertwee's run, where we see this prime minister before, but it's not this guy; it's a different MP. I got them confused. I was like, wait, we've seen this guy before. He's a good guy, so but it's not. It's a totally different actor.
And you
totally
see the
different
doctor
character.
meet him
I
for
had
the
no
first
idea.
time, right? And know his.
Yeah, I guess that was the case. Yeah, I just in my head it was the same actor. I was like, oh, this is good. But I mean, I should have seen it coming. Gates was a double agent. I should have seen it with this guy too. I'm just a dummy.
It's all
Go
fine.
along with the ride. So the Sarah wakes up on the spaceship.
Well, yeah, the spaceship
I like-
happens in part 4.
End of part
right?
3.
End of part 3.
3 is the cliffhanger.
Okay.
Yeah. I like they say good morning, sister.
But
So there's this
before,
whole, like,
just
hippie
even before
commune
we
thing
get to
happening. Go ahead.
the commune in space, like the doctor's insistence at first on capturing a dinosaur, I was like, he just wants to cut this thing open, this lunatic. But I like,
But he doesn't want a dead dinosaur.
he it makes sense within the story. Like he wants to be able to figure out. I guess he's going to use that to determine where these people are. And then there's all that business about the one machine versus the portable machine, and then the portable machine won't be as accurate or whatever. Some of that stuff, I was like, wow, what is he doing? Like, how is he's reading something off
that
of the
felt a little bit like
I don't know.
padding. It was a little bit of padding and running around and getting more dinosaur
Yeah, just
shots
to go
in
into
the city, but it was
the
fine.
subway. It was like a weird thing to go into the subway, but they could have just went to the minister's office. He's got his own elevator, but there's also another exit. It's all fine.
I really liked that the broom closet that turned into an elevator. I don't know, for some
liked
reason I really liked it.
It was cool.
It was
and
so
like
strange.
it's like mysterious, and then you see like the light, and then the light sort of dims. You're like, oh, it's an elevator, and like all those like little secret gadgets and stuff were cool. And the fact that it's
I was not
underneath the
expecting that at
city,
all.
and the idea that there's this whole world underneath us is always intriguing.
Yep. So it's the beginning of episode,
so getting here to
episode 4 that we
4.
get to see the Batmobile,
Spaceship,
the Whomobile, which is that Whomobile is crazy. Did the Doctor design, build, and paint
Where'd
that
it
thing
come
himself?
from?
Is that
Like, was it a
exactly?
Was it just someone he knew? Like they just have these things lying around? What's the deal?
I don't know. But I don't even know if we get to see it again. Is this the only
I think
time
it's
we
only
get to see
in
the
episode
Whomobile?
4. He's never in it again.
But I mean,
right?
like in any other stories, do we ever get to see it again? I mean, it would have been nice to have Bessie there instead.
Yes,
Give Bessie
when
some
he
swoopy wings.
when he said, "Did you get my car that I asked for?" I was like, "Great,
Yes.
he's gonna get into Bessie, and it was gonna be like a nice." It wasn't that. It was this new space thing, which was fine, but it was like I completely my head went right to Bessie.
Yeah, I'm just
Are you
reading
reading?
my notes to see if there's
So we
anything
get
else
that we're
reading my notes
introduced
if
to the
there's
whole
anything important.
elders, the whole council of elders storyline, and the idea that they're a lot. I understand that they have to convince these people that they are not murdering people. You know, whether or not you can
They're
make an
going to another
argument whether
planet.
they are murdering or not, because there's rolling back time, so that didn't exist. How do you murder someone that didn't exist? I'm not here to litigate that. But they make up that there's 4 other ships. Like it's another element or 7 ships to this lie that they're going to realize the minute they show up on the planet. Why are they telling them there's 7 other ships that all have 200 people in it or whatever?
Oh, good point.
Like why? They're eventually going to...
point.
And then and the other thing is, why does the minister
Wait.
put Sarah on
Does that
this?
mean that they actually... Did they kidnap 1,400 people then?
No, because they basically said there are no other ships. Sarah's like, this is the only ship. There are no other ships. You guys are...
So, did they kidnap 200 people?
No, all of those people signed
towards
up.
the end, someone waking up.
But I think all of those people willingly go.
Well, tricked. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, not kidnapped. Wrong word. But did they convince that number of people?
All
Sarah says
200
there's no
people
other ships.
think they're going into space. So they've been
But
approached.
Sarah says there's no other ships, which is true. But that doesn't mean that there's not 1,400 people somewhere else.
I guess, but
that will
I
then be
don't.
woken up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's possible, but we
Craziness,
never
though.
see them or know where that would be.
we never see that.
But why does the minister put Sarah on the ship at all? Like he's like impressed
save
with her
her? Yeah.
ability, but he's got to know that's going to be a seed of poison that's going
Real
to
problem.
spread through the thing. It didn't make any sense why all of a sudden she's on the ship, other than it was cool. But from like, if for someone that has this huge scheme and conspiracy, why would he? It doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense, right?
And
Should-
why are
should
there
just killed
only
her or put her in
white
prison.
people? It's like it's also there's like.
Oh, really? You want to know why there's only white people?
there's
Really?
only English white. There's some issues. With
There's
this
a
plan.
few, yeah.
And the stick with episode 4. My favorite part of episode 4 is when they show the newspaper headlines that say like. I forget what they say. They're like,
London evacuated.
London evacuated,
or
military control that are handwritten because they couldn't get a
Handwritten?
printer, I guess, in time to print.
Yeah.
I was like,
I noticed
Come
that
on.
too. It was super weird. Yep. Let's just.
it
That's
looks like
all
the kind of
paper had
thing
on
you
it,
would
was just
see
those
like on
things.
a QAnon message board, which we all go to. That's like, here's
go.
proof that the vaccine is fake from the front page of
Or-
the newspaper that clearly someone did in crayon. Why'd the doctor leave his flashlight? Also had that in my note. He's got a flashlight. He's in the subway. He's going to an
Yeah.
elevator. He doesn't know what's going to be on the
Yeah.
other side of the elevator. He puts his flashlight on the ground and then gets in. It's like, dude, bring your flashlight because when the door opens downstairs, it could be pitch black. And you're going to have to go back
I
up
had no idea.
and get the flashlight again. It's fine.
In a different era, that they would have done that. It would have just been a back and forth, and that would have been 20 minutes of the story.
And why
of
did
him going
why
back up
did
the
so
elevator.
much of the story take place in what looked like a kid's art classroom? Like you have these scenes with
Where?
like the when it's like all of them together and like they're what's his face comes in, not Benton, the other Benton. Yates comes in and they disarm Bates. Yates. That room
Yeah.
has like children's art taped to the wall. Like if you watch that scene again and you
honestly don't
look at the
remember
wall,
that.
it's like it looks like a nursery school classroom. Did they shoot it?
I don't recall that. I'll take a look
Yes.
whenever I make the gifs. Maybe I'll
we'll
find
have to
those.
go to
and
the
we'll put those
videotape
up
on
as
that.
stills. We'll go to the video.
Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff happens in
see,
episode
what do we got?
4. It was it's a good one. It's where everything changes.
So Sarah realizes that she's not on a spaceship because she got bonked on the head. She's supposed to be there for 3 months, but she still has the wound
yeah,
on her
so
head.
she knows it's
One of the guy says, "Well, you were in suspended animation. That's why it hasn't healed yet," which is a believable enough answer. But how does Sarah put it together that isn't the case? Sure, it's all unbelievable and incredible that she's been put into suspended animation, is now in space on her way to another planet. But she's been time traveling with the doctor, so anything's possible. She's like, the next solar system is so many light years away, we'd never get there. And the guy says, no, well, we actually invented a space drive, whatever, that can get us there. But she doesn't find any of that credible. Why is it? Is it just intuition?
I think it's intuition.
Being an investigative journalist? But if it's just intuition, she takes a huge
She does
risk
by opening the airlock.
opening the airlock.
But she knows
So
that
she's
she's in
just
some
so
kind of horrible
sure
society that she doesn't want a part of, so she would rather just end it.
Oh, so this was either I'm right or I'm dead. Either way, I win.
Exactly. I just sent you a screenshot
Wow.
of the children's art that is hanging on the wall in this scene.
Pause.
I don't know. I think we have 2
Looking.
more episodes, but
Oh, yeah.
the last.
What is that about?
You see it? It's like the kid drew
I didn't notice that at
a
all.
jet, which may be just like a sort of a foreshadowing of the Concorde storyline that we're going to eventually have to go through. But it's like, right?
There's a
Where
man-
are
man with a
they?
horse
And there's
in a
like
desert
an
with a
easel.
castle?
Like, is this someone's? Pertwee have kids, and he had to be at his daughter's art camp that day, and they had to shoot.
Guys,
It's a very strange.
we got a film for my kids' camp. Weird.
So we have
Okay.
2 more episodes, but like episode 5 and episode 6.
Well, the episode 5 is the reveal of the spaceship and that it's underground and Sarah
That's all in
figures this
episode
out. So
4,
that's-
though, right? I mean,
That's in 5.
that's where
No,
she
that's-
wakes
that's
up
in
in the
5.
place.
Episode 4, she blah, blah, blah. In episode 4, she wakes up there. In episode 5, is
Right.
when she
In
figures all
episode
this
4,
out
she
and
does a
actually
lot of being
reveals it.
stuck in the videotape room.
Yes.
Where we just keep cutting to
Yes.
her, and the tape is on, and she's just sort of rolling her eyes and watching
Oh.
the footage.
I love the moment when she's first captured and she's like manacled to that chair, that swivel chair, and there's like blue lights on all 4 sides of her, and she's like trying to it's this whole brainwashing thing that's happening
Yeah.
that I thought was really cool. Didn't work on her because she's Sarah Jane, But that was pretty awesome. I don't know, just production design stuff looked pretty cool.
It was cool. And then
is there anything
for
else that's kind
the
of
next
important?
two
I mean-
parts, I mean, it's just sort of the battling of the dinosaurs, right? What happens in the next two parts?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we get that. We get the reveal of like what their big master plan is. We see everyone that's involved with this.
Yeah, and the doctor gets set up too.
To
Like the evil scientist and picks the phone up and calls him, and it's like, "Hey, I'm on the run. Come meet me." And he gets yet again another. We're gonna make a. Right, they make a dinosaur appear, and then they frame him. Like there's that whole thing where he
Frame
gets
him as though
framed for
he
the
did it.
crime of.
Yep.
And then the Brigadiers is sort of going along with it, but in his heart he probably isn't. And we have that nice scene with the Brigadier, and he's basically tells Benton like, "You better go do whatever you're gonna do." Right? And he's like,
Yeah.
"We're all together."
Yeah.
And everyone just
all
hates
set.
Yates. Poor Yates. He'll never recover
poor
from
Yates.
this. And he's not court-martialed or anything. He is put on leave and
Medical leave and allowed to retire.
right.
So this is the next to last regular appearance of Yates. He comes back in this season for another story.
As a villain,
and then
or we don't
he's-
know.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I was reading ahead, just reading the notes to see what happens, because I couldn't believe this would be the way that Yates was put out to pasture. I think something to do with like becoming a Buddhist, I think is what happens. Anyway, but we'll find
Okay.
out later. Maybe we'll do that story.
But
Anyway,
yeah, and then eventually
the rest
we
of the stuff, I think it all wraps up.
We get to the point where Sarah Jane convinces everyone of the truth. The way they do that is she opens the airlock. Everyone is like blown away, and then they
But they had to go through
confront
the
the
whole
scientist
point
at the same point that the doctor arrives. It's a very convenient meetup.
Before that, though, before
Yep.
that happens, which I think is great, and we should talk about that, is you have the leader guy of the spaceship disbelieving Sarah, but isn't sure, so he contacts the Spaceship One to talk to the Prime
Yes.
Minister Grover.
Who's he? That's
he-
yeah, right.
And he goes through the hassle of putting
Yes.
on
And
his
showing
spacesuit,
up.
going into the
It was
airlock,
so
pretending to depressurize it, to come over and say, "Okay, what's this about?"
Right, that
Like,
part
he
was
has to
so
come up, like,
stupid.
crazy, really committing to the
Yeah,
bit.
he really
to go the whole way
was
through
going
all
all
that.
in. That was couldn't they just
He
talk
went all in.
on the thing?
No, he had to actually take the shuttle across to the other one. It was.
Or they
it
don't
was
have
pretty
video
funny.
chat. They can't have make believe video chat.
No.
But they also show like, is it Sarah Jane or is it the jock who like realizes that none of the? I think it's Sarah Jane. She goes to the computer and that's how that's what
the
really
toggles
convinces
do
her it's
nothing.
all fake. So it's not just
Yeah.
intuition. She also realizes the computers aren't really hooked up to anything.
Okay, that's right.
But
That's right.
none of the other
You're
guys
100%.
tried that. Like the other guy when he's sort of questioning it, doesn't
Well, he did. That guy, when he goes to try to get in touch with Grover, it looks like the buttons aren't working at first.
Yeah,
He flips
that's what
it,
I thought
nothing
was happening.
happens,
But then
and
he
it
called him, but
does
then he
work.
didn't bring that up when the guy got there.
Yeah, it was
Right?
very strange. Yeah, but we got the moment of the Doctor reversing the polarity, which is always fun. Greed is the real cause of our catastrophes. It's not the pollution and chemicals themselves.
Yeah.
It's humans are the issue. Doesn't at all feel resonant to us in present day because we fixed all these problems.
thank God.
So
Yeah.
it's really nice to look back on this perilous era. And then we get the end where Sarah says, "I'm never getting back in that TARDIS again," and the Doctor starts trying to entice her to come visit the
Yeah,
most beautiful
she doesn't
planet in
want
the
to come,
galaxy,
and
which
he is not taking no for an answer. He is really with that
Can you
planet
blame him?
Flora or Florence or whatever the heck it is, where the milk,
Fluoride. It's
rivers
fluoride in
of
the water.
milk or something. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of weird. No, but rivers of milk is
Warm milk.
everything smells like milk. But yeah, so I guess that's the way he gets her.
Yeah,
But she
Which is kinda
doesn't.
cute. I mean,
she doesn't give in to it. I mean, we know
she
she
does.
does. You know
You know
she's
she does.
going to. But
Because of the smile
there's no
and it,
scene of her jumping into the TARDIS. It ends with her smiling
Right.
and him pestering her. Well,
Very
not
cute, though.
pestering.
I love that-
Well, yeah,
that ending.
it was fine.
it was pestering.
It was fine.
So yeah, so that was the
Only
whole
to
thing. I don't think we
abandon
missed
her
anything, but-
later on an empty street. Like you think about this scene, and
That's
then you
so
think about the
true.
later scene when he just sort of leaves her there.
Well, to be fair, it's totally
Yeah, a lot of different doctor. It's all fine.
Different Doctor entirely.
I don't know. I think we both liked it.
It wasn't me.
Right? I don't have anything else to
I
say
think we
about it,
did.
do you?
No.
I'm
No, we
sure
got it.
our listeners have a lot to say about it, Dan.
I bet they did.
All right, I'm
there
going
it
to check
is.
while
All right,
you're
I lost
doing
my-
that.
I lost my place.
I posted something on our
did.
Instagram, which is
You didn't.
TODW show. I don't know if anyone's actually going to have commented on it. We have... No, I only just posted it, so it probably won't be enough time. But while you're doing that, I would also encourage people to check out my graphic novel. It's called Goblin. It's written by me. It is drawn by Will Perkins, and I think you'll enjoy it. I think you will enjoy it. Oh, and if anyone out there happens to be a entertainment lawyer, you could always give me a call, because I feel like I need an entertainment lawyer in my life to look over things. Dan, did you find... I'm running out of things I could talk about.
I found
here,
it.
Dan. Oh, I also saw
No,
two movies. I saw the movie The Green Knight, which I loved. It is a wonderful film. I would recommend it to anyone if you like the King Arthur legends, or even if you just like good movies that take their time and build
I
beautiful
love
stories.
Dev Patel.
It is amazing. And it's
Dev
so
Patel's fantastic.
weird.
He's great.
It's like weird and wonderful and strange. And then I saw it, and I knew the story of the Green Knight a little bit from when I was a kid, but not all of the details. And so I was like, wow, they really just did some weird stuff. And then I looked it up, and pretty much everything in the film is from the legend. So all of these weird, sort of strange moments are all, accurate to the story. I also saw Pig last
cool.
night. Nicolas Cage. Awesome movie. Really not at all what I thought it was going to be. Very touching and interesting and unique, and I'd never really seen... I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it before. I'll throw that out there. Dan, do you have a email at this point?
No, this is fine. I just wanted to talk about the other entertainment. Any good TV shows you're watching? Or?
Yes, I'm watching White
So,
Lotus.
on the Twitter-
So I've seen the first episode of White Lotus.
goodness, so
which I,
good.
I love Mike
so
White.
good.
I'm a big fan. Pretty much anything he does, I usually like. But I only saw one episode, so I know it's probably over by this point. So.
Okay, let's. Thank you, folks, for replying on Twitter.
He did a show called Enlightenment with Laura Dern. One season. It was great, but people are
I thought it was 2
terrible.
seasons.
And it got canceled. Oh, no, it got 2 seasons. You're right. I think it got 2 seasons.
It got
You're
2
right.
seasons. Okay, so about this show that has many seasons, Eric had mentioned that we are reviewing this story, mistakenly calling it Planet of the Dinosaurs.
I did.
Which I would say,
Easy.
and did say on the Twitters, Planet of the Dinosaurs, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Time
all
of the
the same.
Dinosaurs. They're all it's all the same. It's the random show name.
And did we talk
generator.
about how the first
Except for the
episode was
fact-
Invasion? We did?
Except for the fact the first story was shortened to be Invasion to hide the fact that it was going to feature dinosaurs, except like Doctor Who magazine, or I think one of those publications screwed up and printed the full name of it, so it blew their plans anyway.
Maybe
Whatever,
they
it doesn't
should have hid
matter. I
those
don't think it was a
dinosaurs all
huge-
around, because it wasn't...
You just got rid of them
Didn't come out too
entirely, and
good.
it would have been better. Well, I think I also read one of the original script treatments had it be aliens that were invading, and it was kind of an allegory to Hitler taking over more and more area and relegating humans off to another. It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Well, I'm glad
Anyway,
they changed
doesn't
that,
matter.
because the
So,
concept of rolling back time is kind of
It's much more
interesting.
interesting.
I thought the
like
whole
it.
plan was very interesting.
So the Doctor Who
Yes.
show, on no relation, says Planet of the Dinosaurs, or Invasion of Dinosaurs, is one of those 6-parters that keeps moving and doing new stuff. So it's fine. It's not one of those ones where we establish a setting and then just run in circles for the next 6 episodes. That was my in response to my worry and concern that this is another one of those 6-parters that we'll think would have been good had it been 4 parts. I think it was actually fine as 6 parts. It actually worked.
Yeah.
So I wasn't upset about that. Totally fine. Alan Kingsley says, let's be honest, isn't that all of the stories that run more than 4 that we don't, that's too much padding? In this case, I think the only time that I found it to be a little flabby in terms of pacing was the Doctor running around in the Jeep or whatever it was, Land Rover,
hiding from the people in the woods and stuff.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah. That was the only part where we could have cut maybe 10 minutes out of the story and it would have been better served. But that did have these really kind of nice helicopter chases that I thought were filmed really well. So it was, overall, I thought it was pretty nice. Thank you, Hair of the Hound, for pointing out that we did call it the wrong name, but that's okay.
That's my fault.
Very good. Let's see. Jay Bowmanis says, another story I was introduced to via the novelization, which for some reason was at my local library. I reread this many times, imagining the amazing Jurassic Park-style effects I assumed it had. I'll let you guess whether or not it eventually lived up to my expectations. Now, it really would be interesting to see a complete remake of the special effects.
I'm sure
all
you
of these
could do
DVD
it. I mean, there's Doctor Who fans. That should be a challenge. And take it out and redo all of the things and see how it plays.
Yeah, but there was one moment. So yes, the green screen was terrible. The dinosaurs were bad. We've said all of that. It's either in the 5th or 6th episode though, the Doctor's in the Jeep and he comes across the Brontosaurus in the middle of the road.
And he takes his glasses off
and decides to go, and he goes under it.
Oh,
which I thought was like, oh, that was.
I thought you were going to say the
that
Doctor was in his Jeep and then he got out and he fumbled with his glasses. That's a moment from Jurassic Park. Go on, it's fine. We don't.
Oh, I got you.
Wasn't worth stopping.
Yes. Nope. Thank you for pointing that out, though. That was great. The same Jay Bowmanis says, I'm sorry I'm mispronouncing your name. Of course, I love it, and I think that the money and the technology, they did a decent, though not spectacular job. Yeah, it was fine. You just put your head in the right space, and you can go for it. Kevin on video says, who had the more convincing dinosaurs, Doctor Who or Land of the Lost?
Land of the Lost. Land of the Lost dinosaurs
side by side,
were way better.
They were stop motion, so they were clunky in that way, but they looked more convincing, without a doubt. Good choice of stills on that to show us examples. We have the T-Rex in front of one of the shiny alien Land of the Lost. Man,
Land of the Lost was great. I loved the
Slee
Stacks and Big Alice and all of that stuff. Like as a kid, I never thought it looked terrible. I was 100% dialed in.
I never knew what the hell was going on, but I was so
because they were in the
intrigued
caves with the crystals, and the crystals were related to the Slee Stacks. Or I would actually love to rewatch it because I haven't seen it probably since I was a little kid. It's not good.
I watched some of it whenever the movie came out. The Will Ferrell movie came out. I think I went back and found a couple episodes, and it's not great, but I would like to see how the lore kind of ties all together, because I feel like as a kid watching them on random Saturdays, I never caught them in any order that helped explain what was going on. So it always just felt like, wait, why are there aliens out of nowhere? And it was
they're not aliens, right? They're creatures from the Earth. They're like those
center of the Earth,
similar creatures of Doctor Who that live underground. What are they called?
Silurians. Yeah, I guess they're kind of like Silurians,
right? But I remember something about crystals, or like
with
you
the crystals.
Put like a crystal somewhere, and a light would light up, and a door. Like, what was all of that? Maybe you're right. Maybe it was like an alien. It's like an ancient aliens,
interdimensional,
kind of thing, where they have landed, and this is a civilization that we got to rewatch it. Next podcast is Land of the Lost, where we have to watch every episode. There's probably 22 that they just kept rerunning.
It's gonna be great. Let's see. Bernard says to us, points out the alternate title that was supposed to hide what the story was about. So thank you for pointing that out to us to make sure we mentioned that. The World Enough in Time podcast says, I always call the story Invasion of the Rubber Toys a far more accurate title, and especially that fight scene between the T-Rex and the Brontosaurus. You know that there were two kids' hands just out of the shot playing with the toys and making dinosaur noises. Going, ah, rah, rah. It was so bad. Paul Paranoid says, if ever there was a Doctor Who that needed a George Lucas special edition makeover, it's this one. There you go, Eric. It's a solid serial, but for the dinosaurs, which aren't even up to the level of Chewit's advertising dinosaur. He provides a helpful YouTube link to show that. Mind you, they make the Loch Ness Monster on the moors from Zygons look good. And that's saying a lot, because that was pretty rough as well. But I think it's the stop motion works better than the live action puppets.
There are 43
Paul
episodes of
Waring.
Land of the Lost. Just throwing that out there while you.
Oh, thank goodness! So we're gonna do one a month, and we're gonna be doing that for 4
43
years.
years.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Paul Waring says of this story, it's a mixed bag. Peter Miles is great as always, and Pertwee and Sladen are a good team. Shame they only got one season. Totally agree with that. Nice to see some character development for Yates, even though he get. I also read that he was originally going to maybe be murdered in the script. Not murdered,
really?
killed off in this script, but they thought they might want to revisit him later. I don't know. This is what the internet says. Maybe that isn't true. Paul goes on to say the people on the spaceship win the award for the most gullible group in history.
Yeah, they're the blue check
I'm
markers
in the
that they
running
think
for
they
that
know
one.
everything, but clearly they're.
I'm in the running because I was taken along for a ride the entire time and didn't see all the double agents that were pretty obvious in retrospect. So I might be one of those people on that spaceship.
By the way, Land of the Lost
Paul-
also premiered in 1974, same year as this. Keep going. Second episode of Land of the Lost is
amazing.
called The Slee Stack God. What a great title. Keep going.
It's a great title. Do you just want to watch that in real time? Paul Paranoid
I'm
again
simultaneously doing a Land of the Lost podcast. Like any minute, I'd
He's
be
got
like,
another host
"Hi,
on
this
a
is
different-
Eric. That we're going to review today the Slee Stack God. What will Will and Holly get up to?" Yeah. Keep going.
Wait, what was the... Ta-da, Will and Holly. Who was the father's name?
Jimmy? No, it's not Jimmy. I don't know what his name
No,
is.
because it's in the song. It doesn't matter. Paul Paranoid again says, I've never seen a real dinosaur. Maybe stop motion is requisite of the living prehistoric time. Again, I think stop motion would have been more convincing in a strange way.
And I would also add, none of us have seen a real dinosaur.
Haven't you?
Yeah.
You sure? Okay. Sleep Horse says, dinosaurs so bad that even the illustration on the novelization looks terrible. Oh my goodness, that's funny. That you gotta go look that up. When you're done watching Land of the Lost, if you could look up that novelization, that'd be great. That said, some special effects are actually nicely done for a 70s TV show, and the story itself is amazing, classic Pertwee.
Yeah, I agree with I really
that
like
latter
the
half
story.
of
It was a
sentiment,
very good
so
story.
That's great. Super fun story. Eric, do we have any new reviews?
Oh, I don't even
That you're aware
know.
of.
I don't even look. I didn't even look.
I don't even.
But let me look right
didn't.
now. And while I'm looking,
So we have an email. If you'd like to, you can send an email to theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com, just like our friend Katie did.
Oh, Katie.
who is going back and listening to a bunch of our stories and commenting on our website, theolddoctorwhoshow.com. If you want to, you can go to our episode pages and leave comments there and have some conversations with other listeners. Or you can send an email like she did here. So Katie says, "Hey guys, I love this episode." Speaking of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, it's so fun and silly. And I remember the first time around, some of the twists caught me off guard. Me too, Katie. Such as Sarah Jane not actually being in the future. I'd initially assumed the Doctor would pop forward to get her. And Yates' betrayal. Oh, man. I'm so glad I didn't read this email before I watched the episode. Katie says, I adore Sarah Jane in this episode. She's so smart, so brave, and independently figuring things out. Yes, agree. Honestly, she beats the Doctor with a punch on a number of discoveries. That's not uncommon for companions. Maybe not for some companions, but I think there was a big run of kind of just tag-along companions here, and Sarah Jane is
Jane's great too,
exemplary
and
of
I
a-
also love that she keeps figuring it out and then confessing it to the wrong person, and then is self-aware of that
yes.
to the point where she's like, I
Yes.
keep making the same
I
mistake,
did it again.
which
So
is
good. Good point.
very charming.
Katie goes on to say the Brig is great too. He's actually the one recommending restraint for once and using his head. He and the Doctor have better chemistry than ever.
The
Yep.
Brigadier
And I
does
love
some
the
great like non-verbal things where like he's like looks off to one side, almost like does these eye rolls. Like I love the way he characterizes the Brigadier in this. Nicholas,
Absolutely.
What's his last name? Nicholas.
Renfield.
No.
Cage.
What? Courtney, right?
Yes. Nicholas Courtney. Love the
Nicholas
way that
Courtney,
Nicholas
it is
Courtney.
that,
Yeah.
Go on.
I also love this episode. Katie goes on to say, I also love this episode because it's so funny. Pertwee has a stellar delivery, and his sardonic, snide running commentary is perfect in the scene where he and Sarah are being processed for arrest. Yep. It had major 12th Doctor vibes, in my opinion. That's pretty cool. I will say it dragged in some spots, like when the Doctor is skulking around the tube lines and figuring out the elevator. Disagree there. I thought that was actually super fun, but that's fine. We can disagree. At one point, I heard Dan in my head saying, this is a 6-part story, but it could have been better if it was cut down to 4. That's great. I'm so glad that that is now in everyone's head, because that was my worry the entire time too. So Katie, maybe you ought to take a break from listening to our show for a while, because if I'm getting in your head,
all you hear is
nothing
just
good's gonna
Dan.
come
Well,
of
it's just
that.
like that's how I go through my life. I'm constantly hearing Dan in my head.
Oh, I'm so sorry for everybody. She says, I'm not sure if that's how you'll feel this time, but it's kind of your tagline. Absolutely right. I didn't this time, which is great. All in all, Katie gave it a 9.5 out of 10, which is a fun score. So thank you so much. She says, P.S. I hope you're enjoying our continued spamming of the website. My sister once said to me, how do you care enough to have an opinion on everything? Katie, have an opinion. That's why we're doing this show. It's so silly. And PPS, this is to Eric specifically.
Yep.
Eric, are you going to AwesomeCon in DC?
Most likely no. I don't know if I'm like able to do...
Not touring Goblin
I don't
around?
know if I'm like there.
Psychologically up to
yet.
it? Yeah. That's a lot.
I
That's
mean,
a
I'm
big ask.
vaccinated and everything, so that's fine.
Still,
but I get
though.
really freaked out by
Crowds
Delta
of
variants and Delta Plus and Delta with lemon drizzle or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm
one with
sure
extra
it's
fiber is
safe
pretty
and
good,
fine, and you should go if you're going to go, and I get that. But I don't know if I have it in me yet. I hear a lot of good things about AwesomeCon.
I would feel the same.
That has been, you're not the first person to, I've not done it before, and you're not the first person to recommend that to me. It's like AwesomeCon, Baltimore Comic Con, which I've done, is great. That's another one that this year I could go to. I have an invitation to that one, but I don't know if I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Maybe another year.
But if you go, please let
that'd be
me
good.
know how it is. I think it's in it's in August, I think. It would be soon. I think it would be soon.
Soon, very soon.
It's like you look at like Lollapalooza, not that I would do Lollapalooza, but it's like 200 and some people got COVID from that. I don't know if they were vaccinated or not vaccinated, but it's interesting
sound great.
times.
Let's leave that out. Okay, so that's what we got there. So again, on the Twitter, TODW Show on Twitter, you can look for our gifts there. You'll also see them on the Instagram, TODW Show as well. Email us like Katie did at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. Visit us at theolddoctorwhoshow.com, where you can check out all the previous episodes and leave comments. And if you want to, you can leave us a review on the iTunes store for this podcast. If you listen to us on other platforms like Stitcher that may
Or
have review
Spotify.
systems, feel free to drop one there. I don't think Spotify does
No.
reviews yet, but you can listen to us there,
subscribe.
which is going
You
to be
can
awesome.
follow us on
Subscribe, follow
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the meantime, go buy several copies of Eric's graphic novel Goblin and
Oh
give them
yeah,
to your friends.
yeah.
There you go.
That would be awesome.
Do that.
That would be fantastic. And
Yeah.
also, aside from that,
Also?
and aside from being kind to your fellow humans, watch Underworld, because that's the next story that we're doing. It's a Tom Baker story. I believe it's a Leela story and K9. So that is what we're slated to do soon. I know the DVD for that is very expensive. It's probably like you're looking at $60 to $100 or something. I don't know. It's so strange how these things are. But it is on BritBox, so you can stream it there, and it may even be available. I don't know if it's available. I don't think it's available digitally, which seems kind of odd. But yeah, try to watch it. Underworld.
So
That's our
Underworld.
next story.
I will say, I haven't seen it yet, but it's impressive to me that they could get like Michael Sheen and Kate Beckinsale to do
Yeah,
a Doctor Who
exactly.
story. But that's pretty
exactly. I
impressive.
actually
I'm really
liked
looking
the
forward to it.
first Underworld movie. I don't know if I saw past the first one.
I don't see any of them. But,
it was good from what I
I
remember. I always like Kate Beckinsale anyway. But it was a pretty good movie. And I feel like it is like vampires versus werewolves, right? Is that the whole
Right,
shtick?
that's pretty much all it is.
But I remember kind of liking the first one. And I know there's a number of them. And I don't know if the other ones are good.
There's at least 3. All right. Anyway, folks, I think that does it for us. We made up for a short episode last time with a slightly longer one this time. Thanks for indulging us. And we will talk to you again in 3 weeks.
And you can follow me, Dan, and I on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff too. So do it.
Yep. E. Grissom on the Twitters for him. Dan JNJ on the Twitters for me. See you on the internet, folks.
Yay.
We did it. Bye.
Bye, bud. All right. So I have a lot of
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft and plunged them down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost.
Come on, get out of here. Come on. Will, come on, Holly, let's go.
To the land of the
Where's my robot? You know?